G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here, and as it happens we are looking at a wind turbine, which is cute because I want to talk about wind turbines. Between Glen Innes and Enquiry there are 3 wind turbine farms about to be constructed or in the process of construction. It'll result in about 450 turbines standing on 100 to 150 metre tall masts. Turbines from maybe 100 metres to 150 metres in diameter. 3-bladed, composite bladed turbines with permanent magnet alternators. And recently I was watching some YouTube videos on turbine failures, and not wanting to piddle on anybody's parade or anything, but when those things go wrong, they go wrong big time. Because the way they go wrong is when the wind gets too strong, they lose control of their pitch, and that means they lose control of their rotational speed, and that means that they spin too fast. And if there's a gearbox, a multiplication drive gearbox, speeding up the shaft RPM to the generator, then it means if it goes too fast, it can catch on fire. There are ways of reducing that risk, which involve permanent magnet alternators that run at a low RPM, do not require a gearbox, and do not have generators running at high RPM. But anyway, as I found when I had a look at YouTube, there's lots of videos of wind turbines catching fire. And as they catch fire, because they're built largely of composites, fiberglass, they tend to spread burning pieces of fiberglass downwind across the landscape. And seeing as I am in fact an active firefighter and a member of the local rural fire service brigade, and as I have fought section 44 fires in conditions when there was 60 miles per hour, aka 100 kilometres an hour of wind, and a dust storm which grounded the entire fire bomber fleet as well as the helitax, it occurred to me when I saw this picture of burning windmills atop 100-metre towers that perhaps it might not be such a unmitigatedly good thing to be having 3 wind farms with a total of something like 450 or 500 wind turbines, aka electrical generators driven by the wind, each one standing on 100 or 150 metre tall towers, all relying on their pitch control mechanisms to stop them from turning too fast and making too much heat and setting themselves on fire if there was what you call a breakout day. Like at the end of a drought, 3 or 4 years where there's not enough rain, when everything's dry and parched. And the idea of having a 450-foot tall concrete chimney with a burning lump of fiberglass at the top of it and a whirligig making it get hotter is absolutely bloody terrifying to the mindset of anybody who thinks of total fire bans being days when somebody is not permitted to use a 240-volt electric angle grinder unless it's inside a shed, lest the sparks off the angle grinder cutting a piece of steel might set the grass on fire and light up a bushfire. Okay, so I went and I had a little bit of a talk to the lady who runs the wind turbine shop in the main street of Glen Innes for the Goldwind company. And believe it or not, all this is kind of a little bit on the borderline of being commercial and in confidence. However, I have blacked their name out from the bit of paper that I was permitted to keep. Look, see, it's even got Chinese writing on it. Technical department has provided the following information in response to your questions regarding the turbine bearings. Between each blade and the hub bracket pitch bearings, The blade is connected to the hub via a slew bearing. This is a double row ball bearing that allows the blade to rotate around its longitudinal axis with minimal friction. Between the rotor and the nacelle, rotor bearings. One large diameter double row taper bearing connects the turbine rotor and the generator rotor unit directly to the generator stator. The rotor unit is connected to the inner ring of the bearing and the outer ring is connected to the stator. Using this type of bearing, the shaft is reduced to a ring which provides stiffness to the bearing. This allows the generator to be compact and lightweight. The large opening of the bearing allows for direct and easy access to the hub for service personnel. Between the nacelle and the tower mast yaw bearings, the system consists of a fixed system and a rotating system. The fixed system includes the tower top flange tower, a static brake disc, and outer slew bearing ring, which are all bolted to the tower. The rotating system contains all components bolted to the base of the frame of the nacelle. This includes 4 induction motors, a number of hydraulic brakes, and the inner ring of the slew bearing. This email and any files transmitted are confidential and intended solely for the use of the individual or entity to whom it is addressed. If you are not the intended recipient, you have received this email in error, and any use, dissemination, forwarding, printing, or copying of this email or any attachment is strictly prohibited. Yeah, well, as it happens, the lady in charge of the shop gave this and a few other pieces of paper to me, read a different piece of paper and said I was not permitted to take it away or photocopy it or photograph it. So I'm saying that having redacted their name from the document, Goldwind will just have to suck it up. Cupcake. Okay, so here's what we've got on the 2.5 megawatt PMDD wind turbine, innovating for a brighter future. Isn't that a lovely graphic? Goldwind, and we have Goldwind USA, Goldwind Australia, Goldwind Africa, Goldwind Global Headquarters. Goldwind is a Chinese company. That gives us a kind of a cutaway schematic and 3 different power curves for 3 different turbines. 103 metres, 109 metres, 121 metres rotor diameter. However, if we come across to this, we get a somewhat larger schematic. 1 is the blade. 2 is the hub. 3 is the pitch control mechanism. Now that consists of an electric motor down here where the pointer is, and a belt and pulley system using a tooth belt to control the pitch of the rotor. So it only moves when the rotor needs to change its pitch in order to regulate the revolutions per minute according to the wind speed and the load. 4 is the generator rotor. Now that's the wheel covered with neodymium high-strength magnets, which is rotated at a 1-to-1 direct drive by the axle of the wind turbine rotor array. 5 is the generator stator, which is embedded in a polyester resin, and I showed you that when I found a wind turbine unguarded on the side of the road a couple of months ago. 6 is the nacelle itself, constructed of fiberglass. 7 is the yaw control system. 8 is the generator cooling system. And 9 is the wind speed and wind direction measuring system, which tells the yaw system where to point the rotor head to get maximum perpendicularity, I think is the word. And here's what they have to say about it. Platform evolution, 20 plus years of operation and experience from 21,000 plus permanent magnet direct drive PMDD wind turbines. Expansion of the successful Goldwind 1.5 megawatt platform with enhanced architectural features. High efficiency. Permanent magnet synchronous generator PMSG close bracket eliminates excitation losses. The absence of gearbox eliminates losses from ancillary systems such as lubricant distribution and thermal management. High reliability. The gearless drivetrain design eliminates the possibility of gear failure during the operational life of the turbine. Maintenance-free design of the tooth belt pitch drive system simplifies pitch system maintenance requirements. PMSG does not require high maintenance slip rings for conducting power. Highly adaptable. Grid adaptability, excellent. Zero, low and high voltage ride-through capability and compliant with associated standards across the globe. Maintenance adaptability, dual circuit design of generator and converter enables partial operation when one circuit is compromised. Environmental adaptability, flexible operation modes enable adaptation to extreme environmental conditions such as high and low temperatures, noise constraints, and challenging wind conditions. Constructionability, individual blade assembly to conserve site space constraints. Okay, well, yeah, that's all pretty cool. And for those of you who really want to know, here are your technical specs. 2,500 kilowatts, wind class IEC 2A and IEC 3B. Rated wind speed 10.3 metres per second for the 109 metre, 9.3 metres per second for the 121 metre. What we're getting in Glen Innes are the 100 and 121 metres. Okay, so here's my level of input. I spoke to the person in charge of the Goldwind shop in Glen Innes. I said that as a volunteer firefighter, I didn't want to have them upwind of me unless they could assure me that on a breakout day when the wind speed exceeds 60 miles per hour, in case one of the 500 wind turbines upwind of me suffers a pitch control failure, I wanted them to assure me that they have some kind of a compressed cylinder full of foam up there in the turbine housing with a button at the ground and a button in the operations base in the control room, so that whenever the temperature rises on the turbine that's overspeeding, particularly on a breakout day, you know, like what they call a tow ban, a total fire ban day, I want them to have the capability to at least push a button and fill that turbine housing at the top of the 150 metre steel or concrete chimney. I want them to fill that full of foam. I want them to be able to cool it down, put the fire out. I don't want to see bedsheet sized pieces of burning fiberglass being blown downwind at 60 miles an hour on a breakout day when the temperature is 36 or 40 degrees. Call me paranoid, but that just seems to me like a bit of a no-brainer kind of a precaution to take. If you get on a jumbo jet, a Boeing 747, you get on a Boeing 777 twin engine, each engine nacelle has a fire extinguisher operable from the cockpit, which is capable of putting out a fire in a jet engine which has got its fuel pumps full on, feeding kerosene to the flames. I'm pretty sure if they can do that for a turbojet engine, they can do that for a wind turbine. And right at the moment, I've had the first response from Goldwind regarding my inquiry, and sometime within the next week or fortnight, I expect to be given the full and complete answer as to what level of fire suppression Goldwind proposes in installing on its wind turbines to the west of me. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Malt liquor video. Ciao.